All right, I wanted to add a little context and kind of emphasize for you the importance of international strategy and help you understand why businesses have chosen to offshore to take their profits and leave, and why they're outsourcing manufacturing to other countries and they're creating these wholly owned subsidiaries. What it all boils down to, of course, is money. Thinking about Shark Tank and Mark O'Leary, um, or excuse me, Kevin O'Leary, it all boils down to money. That's what he says. That's his thing. So the graph that you see in front of you, the blue bars are the corporate tax rates by nation of the OECD countries. Um, OECD, let me pull up their website for you, is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They are a international organization. I've got their webpage pulled up here. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and they're an international organization that's very credible, and they do a lot of economic research and work with a lot of policy stuff, both in the United States and abroad. So this is directly from their website. So the blue bars, as I mentioned, are corporate tax rates in 2000. The orange bars are corporate tax rates in 2014. The big takeaway here is of these nations that are members of OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, of all of those member nations, there's only 3 nations that have not cut their corporate tax rate in that 15-year period. And that's the United States, Chile, and Hungary. And the United States, of course, is here, and Hungary and Chile are here. They're on the lower end of the corporate tax rates. What you should also probably take away from that is in 2000, Germany had the highest corporate tax rate at well over 50%. But in 2014, the United States was left with the highest corporate tax rate in essentially in the first world, in the organization, OECD countries. So we had the highest corporate income tax rate. So it is a big deal. Well, over the last 15 years, there's been a tremendous amount of money that has left the United States, and it's kind of a big deal when money is made here and leaves here. The theory that President Trump had when he was elected was if we lower these corporate tax rates and give a reshoring break, a window of opportunity when these countries can bring their money home. The estimate was that there was like $3 or $4 trillion overseas, and that these companies would repatriate those profits, bring them home, and invest in the United States. Well, during that window of opportunity, that actually did not happen. There were very few countries that brought their money back home to the United States. Again, for some reason, my computer is running really, really slow. But yeah, there's only 465 billion, less than $500 billion has come back to the United States. That's left about $2.5 trillion. So yeah, it was $3 trillion that had been taken off seas. So the theory didn't work in this case. Okay, I guess we brought home about 1/6 of the money, but you know, the hope, of course, was if we give them the break, then they'll bring all of their money home. So that's as of September of 2018. Okay, and of course that break had a window of opportunity. So that's why it's a big deal. $3 trillion is a lot of money. Back before the coronavirus crisis, our federal spending yearly was only about $4 trillion. Of course, it's much more than that right now, but it was only about $4 trillion a year. So you're almost looking at the entire budget of the federal government for a year when you're talking about $4 trillion. Okay, so now this shows the statutory corporate income tax rates. So this is all of the rates combined in all of those OECD countries, and this is after the Trump tax cuts. You can see that the rates range from 9% to about 34%. And if you'll take a look right here in roughly the center, the United States, our statutory corporate income tax rates combined we're almost about 26%. So that's not just corporate income tax, but that's other taxes as well. For instance, you'd probably have tariffs put in there, and you'd also have excise taxes and that kind of stuff. So income tax rate's almost 26%, even though our top corporate tax rate is actually 21%. So there you can see we're much more competitive now. We're right in the middle of the pack. Okay, so you can see the G20 nations, you can see the OECD nations. You know, we're lower than the G20 nation average, we're higher than the OECD, and we're lower than the EU. Okay, so it's about being competitive as a nation. That's the reason that this is important. Okay, one last screen I'd like to show you is where the money actually comes from for the United States. And there's this slide, and then there's a pie chart I also want to show you. What this will show you is the vast majority of revenue for the federal government comes from individuals. It's 47% personal income tax and 34% payroll tax. And you may say, Dr. Manley, that's not individual. Well, I would beg to differ with you. The roughly 1/3 of payroll taxes that are paid to the federal government, about half of that is your money that's withheld from your paycheck, and the other half of it, arguably, if the corporations didn't exist, the government would not receive that because you would not be an employee of the corporation. So if you put those two together, you got roughly about 81% that's coming from individuals. I truly believe that payroll taxes are a tax on the individual, even though businesses are the ones who actually pay them. And then you've got, of course, corporate income tax. I wanted to put this slide up here and tell you about this because there's a big push, it seems like, in the world today to demonize the corporation and tax them into oblivion, and maybe they pay their fair share, maybe they don't. But you got to also consider how many people work for corporations and work for businesses and small businesses, and that's where the income and payroll taxes also come in. So this next chart, the pie chart, just shows it a little bit differently. It shows individual income taxes at 50%, payroll taxes at 36%, and it shows corporate income tax. Now this is as of 2020. This is this year, okay? And then this was as of 2015. So the numbers shifted a little bit, a little more burden on the individual, a little less on the corporate, okay? Now keep in mind something, folks, and this is, I don't want to get political on this at all, but I do want to let you have some context and let you understand. You can tax the corporation, but in their pursuit of profit, businesses pass along their costs to the consumer. Did you get that? Let me say it again. In their pursuit of profit, businesses pass along their cost, their expenses, to the consumer. And you can believe that taxes are a cost to the business. Therefore, if you increase taxes on businesses, what are they going to do? They're going to mark up their prices to cover their cost, okay? So any tax on corporations is also a tax on individuals, and probably, honestly, not just also a tax on individuals, but more so a tax on individuals. So just think about that, and all I'm trying to do here is just open your eyes to a different way of thinking and just let you make some decisions for yourself. All right, y'all have a good day.